Here we have Sir Frederic William Burton's painting The Meeting on the Turret Stairs, or in full, Hellelil and Hildebrand, The Meeting on the Turret Stairs, dating back to 1864. So this painting depicts two figures on a stairwell in a medieval tower, as the title suggests. For this scene, the artist took inspiration from a medieval Danish ballad that was translated into English in 1855.
The story is actually quite moving. It follows the ill-fated love affair of Burton's two figures, Hellelil, daughter of the powerful lord, and Hildebrand, one of her 12 personal guards. As the story goes, the two fall in love, but her father objects to their courtship and orders his 7 sons to murder Hildebrand. Hildebrand manages to slay the father and 6 of the sons, only to die of his wounds after the battle. Only the youngest son survives, while Hellelil dies soon after.
It's really a very violent ballad, isn't it? And what's interesting is that Burton was inspired to depict a tranquil, peaceful scene, despite the violence.
That's true. Burton really invented this moment. The closest resemblance to it in the ballad itself is one verse that goes, "They stood at the door with spear and shield, up Lord Hildebrand out and yield. He kissed me then mine eyes above, say never my name, my darling love. Out of the door Lord Hildebrand sprang, around his head the sword he swang."
So this is the moment before Hildebrand confronts Hellelil's brothers in battle.
That's exactly it. This is the final moment that the lovers share. He kisses her outstretched arm as they pass each other on the winding stair. She may be ascending the stair to safety, while he's descending the stairs to fight her brothers. The stairs can also be seen as a symbol for the transition going from one place to another, as the lovers' blissful togetherness turns into violence and loss. The rose petals on the step are another symbol of the transience of their love.
But it's such a quiet, tender moment, isn't it? Burton's composition of his figures promotes a sense of stillness and quiet. We see the two full figures paused on the stairway. Hildebrand is a step lower than Hellelil, and we see by the positioning of his feet how he maneuvers the steps. Hellelil also interacts with the confined setting by resting her left hand and her forehead against the stairway's curved wall.
In that way, they actually emphasize the confined nature of the space, don't they? The shallow space actually focuses the viewer's attention on the lovers alone, with no rolling landscape to distract us from their story. The cramped space also gives an emotional intensity to the scene, I think.
But as a viewer, it's hard to say where we're positioned in this painting. We appear to be looking through a doorway or a window, perhaps, because we can see light spilling onto the figures from our direction.
That's true. We might be looking through a medieval arrow loop window like the one we can see at the top of the painting. This light not only illuminates the figures, but it also casts their shadows onto the steps and the stone walls behind them.
It's really the colour, though, that makes the figures stand out. The figures are in striking primary colours, while the background is cast in washes of grey and black. Burton actually painted this in watercolour, but it's so vivid and detailed that it has the appearance of an oil painting.
It does, but his use of colour is actually quite clever as well. Hildebrand is dressed in a vivid red garment over his chainmail, but he wears blue wrappings on his legs that reflect the deep blue of Hellelil's trailing gown. Likewise, the coppery tones in her hair somewhat reflect the red of his apparel, and so the figures harmonised.
What's interesting about them is that both their faces are obscured. We can only really see at most the upper half of their faces, and their eyes are closed as well. I think this really helps us to engage with the story itself. We're not seeing two real, recognisable people, but two characters in a tale. It also heightens the poignancy of their interaction.
Their gestures are really beautiful as well. They really lend to the scene its magic. He appears bold and sturdy as he crosses his arms, while she seems delicate and elegant with her Gothic S-curve form. The palm of her right hand faces the viewer, almost suggesting her vulnerability, which contrasts with Hildebrand's tough exterior, his long sword, helmet and chainmail armour.
We can see as well that Burton uses Hildebrand's sword and his crossed arms along with the line of the steps to create several diagonal lines, which help break the verticality of the scene.
And that's wise, because it's not a landscape, it's portrait, and the two figures appear long in the cramped space as it is. The three-quarter turn of the figures also give them a three-dimensional appearance, and their stylized treatment shows Burton's interest in the pre-Raphaelites, although he wasn't actually a member of this group.
That's true. It's definitely a romantic and idealised in a pre-Raphaelite manner. He had actually done many sketches in preparation for the final piece, which was exhibited at the Watercolour Societies of London's annual exhibition in 1864. The painting and 4 of the sketches are currently in the National Gallery of Ireland.